Hi, this is Cheating Wife. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this story. Your support motivates me to share even more real stories from our life. And don't forget to leave a comment. I'll be really happy to read your thoughts. I never thought I would be the one writing something like this. I always thought my story would end in a much more predictable way. Marriage, kids, maybe a house somewhere quiet. But instead I find myself here, confessing about the kind of heartbreak that shakes the foundation of everything you thought you knew about love. I guess I should start at the beginning, because if you only hear the ending, you won't understand how I got there, or why I let it happen the way I did. Her name doesn't matter, so let's just call her B. I met B when she was 18 and I had just turned 21. It was one of those instant connections, the kind you hear about in movies but never really expect to experience. We fell hard, we fell fast, and we told each other, "I love you," after just 2 weeks. Looking back now, maybe that speed should have been the first warning sign. But at the time, it felt magical. It felt like destiny. Like the universe had finally handed me the person I was supposed to build my life with. She was bright, funny, and had this nervous energy that made me want to protect her. I thought, this is it. This is my forever. Not long after we started dating, I had to move to New York City for work. Most people would think long distance is a death sentence for new relationships, but for us, it wasn't. We saw each other at least once a month, and when COVID hit, we actually got to spend more time together than we expected. I worked long hours, often exhausted, but she became my anchor, the reason I pushed through, the reminder of why I was working so hard. She was my answer to the question, what's the point? And for a long time, that was enough. But B had her struggles. She battled depressive episodes that came in waves, sometimes triggered by fights with friends, sometimes by nothing at all. She had past trauma she didn't like to talk about. She always worried she was missing out on life. She compared herself to her friends, to the way they dressed, the tattoos they got, their edgy haircuts. She thought she lacked depth compared to them. I always told her she was wrong, that she didn't need any of that to prove who she was. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, I think it's possible she was struggling with more than just depression. Bipolar, maybe, but at the time I didn't know, and honestly, I didn't care. All I wanted was to be there for her, to be the person she could count on when the rest of the world felt overwhelming. 2 years into our relationship, I finally got the chance to move back closer to where we had both gone to college. I was ecstatic. I thought, finally, I don't have to be hundreds of miles away. Finally, I can build the life I've been dreaming of with her by my side. At first, to save money, I lived with my parents. In reality, though, that choice slowly broke me down. Living there turned me into someone I barely recognized. I stopped shaving, stopped caring about how I looked. I lost my drive at work. I gained weight. I felt like a shell of myself. And it was around this time, when I was at my lowest, that the infidelity began. I didn't know it yet, but the timeline, as I later discovered, lines up perfectly. In October of 2021, B started voicing discontent with our relationship. She said she needed more space to hang out with her friends. She said school was too stressful to handle a job. I wanted to be supportive, so I did what I thought was right. I agreed to pay her living expenses so she wouldn't have to work, and to make things easier for her, I signed a lease on a $3,500 a month apartment in the city after Christmas. I thought it was an investment in us, in our future. I remember telling her, things will get better after Christmas. I just need to get back on track. I'll quit smoking. I'll get my ambition back. And when we move into the city, we'll finally be able to live the life we've been dreaming about. She nodded, smiled, and kissed me on the cheek. But there was something in her eyes I didn't see at the time. Something distant, something already gone. After Christmas break, when she came back to school, I surprised her with a spring break trip to the Caribbean. I wanted to prove I was serious about changing, about making her happy. I told her, this is just the beginning. We're going to have the life we've always talked about. She hugged me tight. She whispered, I love you. And I believed her. But things started to feel off. The signs of cheating are always so obvious in hindsight. At the time, though, you don't want to believe them, so you don't. You ignore them. You tell yourself you're just being paranoid. She stopped calling me every night before bed. When I asked, she'd say, "Sorry, I fell asleep studying," or "Sorry, my phone died." She went out with friends and didn't text me when she got home, didn't send me her usual silly drunk texts. One night, I noticed her lock screen background was no longer a photo of me. I swallowed my suspicions. There was one night, though, that I couldn't ignore. She went to a concert. I texted her at 8 p.m. No reply. At 10 p.m., she finally responded, "On my way," but she didn't show up until 2 a.m. The venue was only 10 minutes away. When she finally came over, I confronted her. "What took so long?" I asked, my chest tight with panic. She shrugged. "We just hung out after. Nothing happened." "Are you sure?" I pressed. "You swear nothing happened?" She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I promise, nothing ever happened." I wanted to believe her, so I did. The next morning, I told myself to stop being insecure, that she loved me and that was enough. Spring break came and we went on our Caribbean trip. And you know what? It was one of the best weeks of my life. We laughed, we reconnected, we were intimate again in ways we hadn't been for months. On that trip, I thought, this is it. We're back. We're stronger than ever. But on the last night of the trip, everything changed. While she slept beside me, I found myself scrolling through her phone. It wasn't planned. It was instinct. An uneasy feeling I couldn't ignore anymore. And what I found confirmed my worst fears. Emails showing she had downloaded Tinder several times. From November 2021 through February 2022. My heart stopped. I shook her awake. "B, what the hell is this?" I demanded, shoving the phone in her face. She sat up, groggy and confused. "What?" she mumbled. "Don't play dumb. Why are you downloading Tinder? What the F **** is going on?" Her eyes filled with tears. She started sobbing, begging me to believe her. She swore up and down she had never cheated, that it didn't mean anything, that she wanted to spend the rest of her life with me. "Swear on your family's life," I said coldly, and she did, and I believed her. I shouldn't have, but I did, because I couldn't imagine my life without her. That night, I held her in my arms, convincing myself it was just a stupid mistake, convincing myself that love was enough to cover over everything else. But deep down, I think I already knew. The foundation of our relationship had already cracked, and it was only a matter of time before the whole thing came crashing down. After the Caribbean trip, things almost felt normal again. For a few weeks, we slipped back into the version of us that had always felt so effortless. We laughed, we cooked together, we went on dates, and I convinced myself that everything was going to be fine. It was easier to believe the lie than face the truth, because the truth would mean admitting that the person I trusted most in the world was capable of betraying me in ways I couldn't even imagine. In May, she officially moved in with me. I'll be honest, it was amazing. Waking up next to her every morning felt like a dream. We built routines together, grocery runs, Sunday brunches, lazy Netflix nights. For the first time, it felt like we were actually living the life I had been promising her for years. There were no big fights, no screaming matches, just us. And I thought maybe, just maybe, we had survived the storm. But there were still cracks, little things that didn't add up. A sudden need for privacy with her phone. Nights when she'd stay up late studying with her screen turned away from me. Moments when she seemed distracted, like her mind was somewhere else. I wanted to confront her, but I didn't, because every time I imagined her breaking down in tears, begging me to believe her again, I already knew what I would do. I would forgive her. I would let it go, because losing her felt worse than being lied to. In July, we went to her parents' house for the 4th of July holiday. It was supposed to be a quick trip before heading to my sister's wedding the following weekend. We spent the day with her family, grilling, watching fireworks, scrolling through old photos on her phone. And that's when I saw it. Picture. A sexual picture, one she could never have taken by herself. The angle was wrong. It was clearly taken by someone else. My stomach dropped. "What is this?" I asked, my voice trembling. She froze. "It's not me," she said quickly, snatching the phone. But I knew better. I knew her body. I knew every curve, every scar, every freckle. And I knew this was her. "Don't lie to me," I whispered. She sighed, her shoulders slumping. Finally, she said, "Okay, it's me, but it wasn't what you think. I didn't want it. I was taken advantage of." Her words hit me like a knife. On one hand, the idea of someone hurting her made me furious. On the other, the story didn't make sense. The timestamp on the photo was February 1st, right in the middle of the months I had been so suspicious. And the expression on her face in the picture, it didn't look like fear. It looked like something else. But I wanted to believe her, so I did. I told myself it was easier to place my anger on some faceless man than to admit that the woman I loved had betrayed me. A few days later, though, the truth came out. I went through her phone again. I know it was a violation, but something in me needed to know. And what I found shattered whatever illusions I had left. It wasn't just one guy. It wasn't just one mistake. It was several people. Over a 4-month period. Right after Thanksgiving. Right after she introduced me to her entire extended family. She had been sleeping with other men. 5 of them, to be exact. Some just once. One of them multiple times. And all of it happening while I was bending over backwards to save our relationship. While I was paying for her gas, she was driving to meet them. While I was planning our Caribbean vacation, she was hooking up with strangers. While I was fighting to keep us alive, she was choosing everyone else but me. I remember sitting on the floor, her phone in my hands, my chest heaving as the weight of it all came crashing down. "Why?" I asked her, my voice breaking. "Why would you do this to me? To us?" She sobbed, grabbing at my arms. "I don't know. I was lost. I was depressed. I didn't know who I was anymore. But I swear, it didn't mean anything. You're the only one I love. You're the only one I want to spend my life with." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw her out and never look back. But instead, I just sat there, hollow, because deep down I knew the truth. And the truth was, I still loved her. God, I hated myself for it. But I couldn't stop. The weeks after that were a blur of confusion. Some days I thought we could make it work. Other days, I couldn't even look at her without wanting to cry. Every kiss felt tainted. Every "I love you" felt like a lie. But I couldn't let her go. She tried to explain herself. "It was just a phase," she said. "I was going through something. I didn't know what I wanted." She begged me to forgive her. She told me she'd never do it again. And the worst part? A part of me wanted to believe her, because believing her meant I didn't have to face the reality of starting over without her. We still went to my sister's wedding that weekend. I plastered a smile on my face, pretending everything was fine. My family had no idea. They thought we were the perfect couple. And I let them believe it because admitting the truth out loud would make it real. But inside, I was falling apart. Every time she touched me, I pictured her touching them. Every time she whispered, "I love you," I heard her whispering it to someone else. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I was living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. One night, I finally confronted her again. "Do you even love me?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Yes," she said instantly, her eyes wide with panic. "Then why?" I demanded. She broke down crying again. "I don't know. I was broken. I didn't know how to handle my emotions. But you're my person. You're my soulmate. Please, don't leave me." I stared at her, my heart torn in two, because I knew she was lying. And yet, I wanted to believe her more than I wanted the truth. So I stayed. I stayed, even though every bone in my body screamed at me to run. I stayed even though my trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. I stayed because the thought of losing her felt worse than the thought of being betrayed again. And that was the moment I realized just how broken I was, too. Because what kind of person chooses pain over freedom? What kind of person chooses lies over self-respect? Me. I did, and I hate myself for it. I wish I could say that after discovering the truth, I finally found the strength to walk away. But that would be a lie. The truth is, I stayed. I stayed even though my trust had been burned to ashes. I stayed even though my nights were restless and my mind was haunted by images I couldn't erase. I stayed because I convinced myself that if I just loved her enough, she would change. But people don't change for love. Not when they don't respect it. The final straw came one evening in August. We had just finished dinner together, pasta with a glass of red wine, candles flickering like we were in some romantic movie. She leaned against me on the couch, scrolling through her phone. I glanced over and saw the notification pop up. It was a message from one of the guys I had already seen in her phone before, and the preview left no doubt. It was explicit. My chest went tight. I reached for her phone, but she pulled it away instantly. "Don't," she snapped, her eyes flashing with anger. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't broken. She wasn't lost. She was just selfish. I stood up, pacing the room. "Are you kidding me?" I shouted. "After everything? After all the lies, all the promises, you're still doing this?" Her eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't moved this time, because I had seen this act before. The tears, the begging, the apologies. It was all a script, and I had fallen for it too many times. "You don't understand," she whispered. "Then make me understand." I snapped. "Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to us?" Her silence was louder than any answer she could have given. And in that silence, I finally saw the truth. She didn't care. Not really. She cared about being caught. She cared about losing the comfort of what I gave her. But me, my pain, my heart, none of that mattered. I grabbed my keys and left. I drove around aimlessly for hours, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt numb. When I finally got back, she was still there, sitting on the couch, her face puffy from crying. "Please," she whispered as I walked in. "Please don't leave me. We can fix this. I'll change. I'll do anything." For a moment, I almost believed her again. But then I thought about all the other times she had said the same words, and all the times she had gone back on them. So I shook my head. "No," I said quietly. "It's over." Her face crumpled. She reached for me, but I stepped back. I had to, because if I let her touch me, I knew I'd fall back into the cycle all over again. That night, I slept at my friend's place. The next day, I packed her things into boxes. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I just ended it. And yet, even as I carried those boxes to her car, even as she begged me to reconsider, even as she drove away for the last time, a part of me still wanted her. And that's the part one hates the most, because she betrayed me. She lied to me. She made me question my worth, my sanity, my entire reality. And still, I loved her. It's been months since then, and I wish I could say I'm over it. But healing isn't linear. Some days I feel strong. Other days, I wake up and reach for her out of habit, only to find empty sheets. I keep asking myself the same question. Why wasn't I enough? Why did she need 5 other men when she had me? And I know logically that the answer has nothing to do with me, that her choices reflect her, not me. But my heart hasn't caught up to that truth yet. I didn't take revenge. I didn't expose her to her family. I didn't blast her name all over social media, because I figured in the end, karma would do that for me. And maybe it already has, because last I heard, she's alone. The guys she cheated with moved on. Her friends are distant. Her reputation is ruined. Meanwhile, I'm still standing. Scarred, yes, but standing. And maybe that's enough for now, because one day, I'll find someone who sees me for who I am, not as a placeholder until something better comes along. One day, I'll be loved the way I deserve. But until then, this is my story. A story of love, betrayal, heartbreak, and survival. And maybe sharing it here is the first step to finally letting go.